So I think when we were creating Roots, we had a lot of different conversations about ourselves, about where we come from, about how we see ourselves as black men as well, and how we feel like we need to progress as a people. And I think we both had an affinity for understanding the journey and the works of Marcus Garvey. He has a great quote, a people without knowledge of their past history is like a tree without roots.
With Roots, I went down a bit of a rabbit hole, I think, with the artist who was doing the vocals on the track, and it being about his roots. And I remember we had some conversation that was really about his roots and this whole Marcus Garvey influence, and the artist was from Zimbabwe. So I went down this whole thing of like, okay, I want to get like the roots of Zimbabwean art and like what were the early cultural influences. And I discovered this type of sculpture that had been around for ages, but sort of was more known about in the 50s, called Shona sculpture, which is using specific types of stones in a specific kind of way. So I had this whole idea of like sculpture and rock.
Creating an album in a way where people don't necessarily know what they've listened to until it's explained to them, allows them to go in with open ears and really just listen to the music just as music and without any preconceptions.
I know I wanted this colour palette. This was it as well. I was trying to use the Pan-African colour palette in there. The greens, the blacks, the reds, the yellows, and having the sort of white highlights. So it was all sort of around, but I don't know. I think I went on a bit of a tangent, was in a sort of apocalyptic place. So when I showed it to T, he was a bit like, so I like it, but...
The tuba is actually the backdrop of all the tracks. It might not sound like it because I think we went through a process of manipulating the sound quite a bit. But the tuba ultimately is the bass line, but it's also the chords you're hearing, and it's also the melody. And I think that was the intention, really, to really show how versatile the instrument is and all the different pockets of sound it can get into.
These also remind me of like family trees.
Yeah.
If you were to turn it upside down, it's sort of like all the different like generations and stuff, which wasn't necessarily purposeful, but sort of I think came from that. And I think I really liked it. We called it aunties and uncles. And then yeah, we had the open palm, and then later digitally, I changed it into the sort of side palm.
For me, it was about showcasing less of the struggle and more about how we utilize our past and our history and our richness to go forward. And what was interesting about the latest design on this in particular is, I guess my 2 cents was for it to be less about the hand going upwards, to be more about a palm going upwards, which is more full circle, going from from the last piece to reference one of the earlier pieces. Once we got started on the track, he started writing, and it just matched so much with what I had in my mind of the track to be. So yeah, it was a real pleasure to have him on the track.